there's so many people we deal with that have either obligations to employers. They don't want to let coworkers down by retiring or let down a boss that they maybe have made certain indications to, or they've got siblings that are needy or friends that are like a drag on them, maybe even without the intention of doing it, bringing you down and doing these things, right? And so when you brought this up, it just clicked. I was like, this is such a strong, important message.
Yeah, and so you can hear the same message in many different ways from different people, but all it takes is that one person or one method that you're hearing something to click, and that's just based on who you are. What makes you tick?
Saturday State of Mind in the new digs, the new studio. How's it look?
Thrilled to be here. It looks beautiful.
Thank you. Liz actually had a hand in picking out the color here, so that's why she gets to break the new studio.
Honorary first
awesome.
Guest in the studio. Yes.
Well, you were already heading in that direction.
Well, we knew
I
blue.
just love the blue. Yeah.
There's so many shades of blue. It's like white. Did you see
it's color that has the most shades.
It's blue?
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
We're boring everybody right now.
Yeah, really.
What? Not all the Pantone fans out there.
No, the colors.
I got to know, when we asked you to do this, what kind of thoughts went through your minds? Like, what kind of expectations do you have for our chat today? Or what were you hoping we would name this episode? Anything that we should know in advance before we dive in?
No, but when we left, we thought, we can just talk about ourselves. That's the easiest thing to talk about.
Yeah, I know that.
So
I know me.
So we didn't feel any stress about it.
Awesome.
But, looked at the email and saw things that we should be thinking about in case we're asked those certain questions. And
Sure.
Well, you've seen we'd like to start at the beginning a little bit. Which is so fascinating about all this is that we've known each other for years, but kind of only at a surface level or at a certain point in time and beyond. Like, we've only met you guys. Like, when I think we've known each other since
5 years?
Five-ish years, right?
5 years. Yeah.
So, and of course, the further you go back, the more different things the more different things are not only for your own lives, but just what life was like, right? So, can we just start at the very beginning? Where are you guys from? Are you from around here, or did you grow up somewhere else?
I grew up in Marblehead, Mass.
Okay.
And started out in Salem till I was 9, and then Marblehead, and it was just the physical environs of Marblehead. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was idyllic.
Yeah.
Being outside all the time.
Yeah. What stands out to you most in terms of what your childhood was like as compared to what you think the kids, their lives are looking like these days?
It's no secret that if you're a boomer, you didn't have the electronics. And there was maybe a bell that rang to tell you to come in. And we played outside till dark.
Yeah.
No supervision. We had a neighborhood that had a lot of kids. For each of my siblings, there's 3, there were a cluster of kids in the same age groups. So that was pretty cool. And we grew up on the ocean. Last house on the left overlooking the Atlantic. It was just beautiful. We had our own private beach in the neighborhood.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the supervision thing is always interesting to me because I was a bit of a troublemaker, and so part of the joy of childhood is sneaking around and trying to bend the rules, stay out late, whatever. And now there's cameras everywhere. How do kids?
Yeah, we were saying Ring cameras. You can't sneak into the house anymore.
No.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think parents are much more hovering over their kids now than mine ever were. Yeah. I mean, they were attentive, but they weren't the classic helicopter parent where they're in every little activity that you participate in. I always lament the fact that organized sports kind of ruined sports for kids.
Sure.
Because in my day, there wasn't an adult within a mile of any playing field that we were on.
Right.
So every conflict had to be sort of adjudicated among the kids.
Right.
There were no zealous coaches and that type of thing.
It's your own sense of community. You figure out, you make your own rules and your own
Yeah,
laws.
you work it out.
Happens.
Maybe there was a bloody lip that came out of it, occasionally, but you didn't have to constantly, defer to the grown-up.
Sure.
To, solve your problems.
That's something my dad would talk about a lot when we would drive around, and he would notice the baseball field was empty, the basketball court was empty, which was like an alien thing. He's like, when I grew up, this place would be packed.
Right.
Yeah.
Year round too. It didn't matter.
So where did you grow up, Jon?
I grew up in, a town right next to New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay.
And I spent my first 37 years there, I guess, and pretty idyllic childhood. My dad was a tradesman, so we weren't super wealthy. We didn't grow up on the ocean. We grew up near Long Island Sound, so we had a beach, experience growing up. A fairly modest upbringing, but, what we didn't have in material wealth, we had in a very tight-knit family unit up until, the point where you start to rebel against that. And
Right.
Yeah. Do you remember having observations as a kid about your parents' relationship with money or what money meant to the household and how it affected?
yeah, I
Coming
did.
up?
Because largely due to the fact that my grandparents, my mom's parents didn't grow up, they lived in the house right next door to us. And, as Depression people, we were constantly, it was drilled into us the importance of savings. I was putting away money for a down payment on my house when I was 12.
Wow.
Not because of anything I wanted to do, but
Sure.
that was what was inculcated. My mom said, gotta save, gotta save. So we are really very much exposed to that mentality of putting your money away, spend some, but save some too.
Was it any different for you, Liz? What did you observe?
Well, I mean, we didn't feel wealthy. We lived in a neighborhood that was on the ocean, but it was a very average lifestyle because we didn't require a lot as kids.
Sure.
We were outside all the time. My father pretty much managed the purse. And so there wasn't a lot of talk about money.
What did your parents do for work?
My father was an attorney.
Okay.
And before my mother decided to stay home, she was the secretary to the mayor of Salem, Mass, for 7 years. They were like the it couple for a while.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I'm the oldest. I have a brother a year younger and a sister 4 years younger.
What'd your parents do, John?
My dad was a printer. He was a typositor, I guess, or a typographer. So he worked, it was a factory setting. And my mom was a homemaker until, I guess, my younger brother, who's 4.5 years younger than me, went off to high school. And then she went into a local bank. She started as a secretary and actually ended up years later as bank manager.
Oh, wow.
So she really, kind of busted through whatever glass ceiling there might have been and, became a real businesswoman in later life.
Yeah. That's amazing, too, after being, a homemaker for so long.
Yeah.
She, went, all right, go get a job now,
Yeah. And she was,
that.
of the generation that, married your high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
You had a baby immediately. So, I mean, she really, her future was kind of cast for her, but, she broke out of that mold because
Yeah.
she just had the ambition and the smarts to do it.
Do you recall, either one of you, what a splurge looked like for your families when times were good, or what a sacrifice looked like if things were lean? What stands out?
We knew that it was a special night if we ended up at Chuck's Steakhouse. If you're anytime you're at a salad bar,
Yeah.
something's
Fancy.
something's different.
Something good's happened.
Right.
Anything stand out for you, Liz?
Well, we went out to dinner to celebrate birthdays.
Okay.
But the biggest splurge was when my father brought us to Greece when I was 12.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And at the time, there was a Kodak commercial. I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but it was, an immigrant, an older woman immigrant getting off of the airplane, seeing family for the first time, all dressed in black. And that was, the scene was replayed with my father and his aunt.
Oh.
It was amazing.
The whole family went over, you and your siblings?
Yes.
That's really nice.
Yep. And we rented a small Fiat and drove around the countryside and went to his village that he grew up in.
Would you say that there's a go-to family or childhood anecdote that you go to when someone asks what's it like, or what was it like growing up in Marblehead or outside of New Haven? Either something funny or just something, I don't know, that stands out in your memory?
I usually tell, because I just had to eulogize my dad a couple of months ago, well, back in August, and had to come up with a bunch of things to talk about him. But the thing that struck me the most was that because he depended on overtime to really create a middle-class upbringing for us, he was out of the house at like 5 a.m. And, the joke always was, even on the weekends, he couldn't sleep. So if we were going to go to the beach, we would be on the beach at like 7:15,
Right.
And, you wouldn't see another soul until 10 o'clock. Right. And we're looking to have lunch at around 10:30. So,
Sure.
that was my dad.
Yeah.
Hit it early and, hit it hard.
Yeah.
What time was bedtime for Dad?
Oh, gosh, maybe 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it would be, dinner and then maybe the nightly news, and then that was it, into
Yeah.
bed.
Okay. Liz, what's your go-to growing up by the ocean story?
Well, we had a swimming pool. And it was on the rocks, and we had a neighbor that had a tidal pool. When the tide came in, the pool would fill up, and when it went out, it would empty. So it was always fresh ocean water. But not as many memories about my parents as much as the adventures that we went on. So we would climb down onto the rocks behind our house and walk the shoreline on the rocks to the nearest beach.
What's the weirdest thing that you ever found washed up on the beach?
Oh gosh.
Good question.
No message in a bottle.
No. Our neighborhood beach was very rocky.
Yeah.
All really round rocks.
Yeah.
We used to toughen up our feet to walk on the rocks.
Sure.
Go out barefoot.
Yeah.
No water shoes.
No water shoes back then. No such thing.
Right.
That tidal pool thing sounds super cool.
It was very cool. It
Yeah.
wasn't ours, but it was very cool to watch. And to get down to the pool, you had to climb down some stairs.
Yeah.
So there was a big distance between the backyard and the lower deck of the pool. Friends used to jump off the wall into the pool.
Nice.
It was scary. I didn't do it, but
Good.
Yeah.
So if we fast forward a little bit, did one or both of you attend university?
Yep,
Yeah.
I went to the University of Connecticut.
Okay. For what? What'd you do, John? What'd you
Well,
study?
I was kind of like a pre-law guy, but I fell in with a bunch of jazz musicians, and that was subsequently those plans changed. We
Okay.
all dropped out at the same time. We were all going to go to Berklee School of Music,
Yep.
and none of us did.
Did you have a musical background prior to going to school?
I played piano, as a kid, and embraced, as a baby boomer, embraced all the, British invasion bands. I mean, I was heavily into music. For me, it was sort of the romanticizing of the jazz
Sure.
lifestyle and the jazz guy, the hip cat who's above it all.
Yeah.
It was a complete fabrication. And I ended up, like a year later, working beside my dad in his print shop. Not his print shop, but a print shop.
Now, when you tooled around with these jazz folks, were you still playing piano, or did you start to branch off and play some
No,
other
I had
stuff?
a piano. I actually had brought an electric piano, this like 600-pound behemoth, to school.
Yeah.
And I could be seen like walking across campus, this big Fender Rhodes, making my way from one end of the campus to the other, to
Yeah.
jam, with some buddies.
Was it really 600 pounds?
I mean, this thing is not, I don't think it was quite that.
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to hump, but I mean, it was easily a couple of hundred.
Not
I mean,
slinging a guitar over your
no,
back.
no, this or a harmonica. This thing is just an absolute beast. I still have it.
Okay.
1973.
So you dropped out after what year?
I was in the middle of my junior year.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was well down
How'd
the
that go
line.
over with your folks?
I'm sure it aged my dad like, overnight.
Sure.
I've never seen him more.
He wasn't supportive of his
Distraught.
son's ambitions to be a jazz
Yeah,
musician?
he didn't see me as the next, like, Duke Ellington. I don't know why.
You need to see Chicago.
Yeah, right.
So, he said, well, you're welcome to live here. But, my mother actually was the one who sort of dropped the hammer. She said, you're not going to live here for free.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But, you are welcome to stay.
Okay.
So,
So you had to pay rent.
Yep.
Okay.
And it necessitated me, getting a job. And, my dad was big on, okay, if you're not going to do, the white collar route, let's try the blue collar route.
Okay.
So, for a couple of years, I worked side by side with him in a really, filthy, dingy, dusty, hot factory.
Was this the typography stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a print shop. This was a publisher in New Haven that published the Yale Law Journal. They had a lot of prestigious scholarly journals that they produced. And my dad was, a meticulous craftsman. He really was a dying breed. It allowed me to sort of take the full measure of him as an individual. You don't really see the work side of your parents,
Sure.
or, their work personality. So it was a real eye-opener for me. But working in that environment was also an eye-opener.
Right.
It's like, no.
Didn't fall in love. It wasn't your
don't.
passion.
Yeah. Although I was able to leverage the stuff that I was doing with him when I came up here to Boston in '86, which is a whole other story. I don't want to go too far down
Okay.
that rabbit hole.
We can bookmark you here.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you.
We'll do that in the next
1986
segment.
is when we come back.
Right. Drop a pin in '86 and we'll revisit.
So what's your coming of age story? Are you also a university brat as well?
Yeah, well, I like to say that he dropped out to be a wedding singer.
Nice.
Right.
I like that.
Did he? Did he do any weddings? No. No?
Oh, I thought you said you did.
When I dropped out, we played the Yale Divinity School's Christmas party.
Was it a hootenanny? Did they really get at
what
it?
ended up happening was it was basically divided into two parts of the evening. First part was a sit-down dinner with the faculty and, the Yaleys. And then the faculty left and all hell broke loose. We just basically, the drinks were flowing. Everybody was pretty ripped, and it just turned into like a rock and roll, madness.
Yeah, is there like a gig that stands out most in your mind?
That
as like
one, actually.
most emblematic?
Yeah.
That Yale gig was kind of a special one, and I would my buddy, the drummer, just sent me a picture of part of the band. I put it up on the refrigerator. This is from like 1976, maybe.
So you're still in touch with some of these?
Yeah. I'm in touch with actually 2 of the 5 guys that were in the band.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, they're lifelong pals.
That's exceptional. It's hard to stay in touch with people just in general, but musicians can be like, dandelions on a breeze.
Yeah, for
you know?
sure.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, Mike.
Yeah. I try. I try. All right. So we interrupted Liz. Liz,
Yeah, continue.
your story.
It's okay. I went to BU.
Okay.
And I majored in mass communications. And I started out at Little Brown and Company Publishing in the college textbook division.
Okay.
And did that for 5 years. And I loved the people so much, I decided I'd feel guilty if I went to another job. So I took 3 months off and went to Europe. And I stayed with family for a month in Greece. And then I traveled for 2 months.
Wow.
And came back. I backpacked. I was like 26 or 27. I was one of the older backpackers at the time. Yeah.
Did you go alone?
I
there?
did.
Wow.
I did. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That sounds
I had
scary.
a friend who inspired me.
Yeah.
She had been telling me about all her travels, and it opened my eyes and my, so I had 5 jobs. I had a 1-hour job manning the desk at a law office next to where I worked for 1 hour for $5.
That hour must
So
have
she
been.
could take a lunch hour. I know, it was crazy. And I wound up quitting all the jobs at the same time, and it was so liberating.
So do you spend most of the time in Greece on this sojourn?
1
month.
1 month.
Out of the 3 months.
1/3.
Do you speak Greek?
I went to Greek school when I was. I can understand more than I can speak. I can't really speak it. I know words now.
All right, I have a lot of questions. Okay, so at that time when you were traveling, did they speak a lot of English over there?
No, in fact, at the time, I had the vocabulary of like a 12-year-old.
Okay.
So I was able to communicate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
So
of
you can
Greek
get
school, I went for
food.
5 years.
Yeah,
And my father was there too.
But I think we're taking for granted anybody who's watching this that was born after 1995. Like when you're doing
right.
it, there's what, like some Frommer's guides that you could refer to,
Right.
but there's no TripAdvisor.
Right,
No. How did you figure stuff out? What was that like?
Well, my relatives were pretty patient.
Okay.
And a lot of talking with hands and,
Gesturing.
Gesturing, yeah. It was easy. Plus, my father was there, and they may have known a little bit of English, but really not.
But we were there on our honeymoon in 90. There were things were changing at that point. I think where the younger generation, like Liz's cousins, who we hung around with a little bit, English as a second language is kind of routine.
Sure.
Now it is, yeah.
But back when she was a kid, 12 years old,
1970,
So how old were you when you were on this adventure?
12,
Okay.
1970. And we went to the house in the village, all whitewashed stone. So there was no telephone. There was no running water.
Wow.
We had to walk to the well.
Yeah.
A couple of us rode some donkeys. It was just wild. You took this cloth out of the well hole, or like the hole in the wall, and collect your water and then bring it back. It was really incredible.
It sounds so idyllic.
It was idyllic.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful, and there was a beach. It was embedded in the mountains, but there was a beach. It's the southernmost point on the Peloponnese.
Okay.
It was
Just the
still pretty
southern
rustic.
peninsula.
When we went in 90, it hadn't really come all that far in terms of modernization.
It was. There were cross wires, telephone wires everywhere.
Yeah.
The house that we stayed in, her cousin's vacation home, was probably
Updated.
the most modern, structure in the place. Everything else seemed like it was untouched by time.
Right.
Have you guys been back since 90?
No,
No.
I wish.
He talks about moving there, but I'm like, every country has its problems.
Sure. Right. You could visit.
Well,
We can.
Visit and come back.
yeah. I just thought I don't know, having dual citizenship kind of gave us a little, sort of escape hatch.
Right.
We've been hearing about people doing that more and more, by the way.
Exactly.
We just started working with some folks that plan on moving to France after they retire. We've got clients right now that have places like in Central America, just like, it's either a fallback plan or it's like the primary plan, just, experience something different, go on an adventure. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I can always come back, which depending on how much the kids like you and some other things, is probably true.
right.
So going back to your late 20s when you went backpacking, so you did a month in Greece. Where else did you go for the next 2 months?
Well, I took the ferry to Brindisi in Italy, which is, pretty south. Met somebody on the ferry who had a car. So,
like, we're going to hang
so
out.
I was very trusting.
Yeah.
Still am, but able to see the countryside by car, and went into Florence and Assisi, Siena, and then into Switzerland, and we parted ways in Switzerland. And then I was on my own. Went into Germany, and I met a lot of Canadians, and I was traveling with Canadians. And at the time, and honestly, I can't remember why, but Americans weren't as popular at that time. And that was in like 87.
Yeah, in Germany?
1987.
I have a couple ideas.
Well, Germany, anywhere. Because, well, especially in Germany. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because people would ask, where are you from? The Canadians would say, oh, from Canada. Oh, a very warm reception. And, oh, I'm from the States. They, oh. And so where were you from in Canada?
Yeah.
Right.
So it was interesting. It was really interesting. Having been to Greece with family and staying with family is very different than going as a tourist. No matter how much you feel a part of the place, when we went on our honeymoon, it was a different experience for me, just because we didn't have the warmth and hospitality of family around us.
Sure.
And so,
Over part of it.
and we went in August also, which everyone takes vacation in August.
Okay.
So we're going to get into how you two met, and we're going to put Jon on the stand first.
Sure.
Okay, just so you can maybe screw this up, and then Liz can correct the record later.
Come in and give the actual.
But can Jess and I maybe possibly guess? So they both dabbled in like the typography industry.
right.
So that could be that
Publishing,
angle.
printing
Or
houses.
she could have
I don't
like
think so.
maybe
Oh,
Jon.
although she said she was never going to leave Little Brown.
Yeah, but I'm
Oh,
also
yeah.
thinking that maybe like Jon's like really killing it at a gig. Catches Liz's eye in some
She's
smoky
like,
room.
look at that man lifting that 600 pounds.
Yeah. Are we
I don't think it's work related.
Are we getting warm at all? No.
Well, you were on the right track with the the Venn diagram kind of came
Yeah.
together on typography.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
suppose. I'll tell you the story. I moved up here in December of '86. A marriage that was supposed to take place didn't. At the time, I was living with the woman. I was working with the woman, and we were in the process of buying this little design firm from a mom and pop type of deal. So the bottom fell out of all that stuff, and the engagement was broken, and I was miserable. So I had a friend who lived in Boston and said, "Come on up to Boston. You can lick your wounds for a week or so, and then get back, in the saddle."
Yep.
So that was in December. For a few weeks, just idling, not doing much of anything, just hanging out, getting to know Boston. And then I answered an ad in Adweek magazine for an artist, 2-day assignment at Fidelity Investments. Thursday and Friday, somebody was on vacation, had to come in and clean up a bunch of work. And that was going to be that. I'm at my drafting table, putting together advertisements, whatever it was. And this blonde woman comes over to have me, the very first person I had to actually do work for. And she came over with some mechanicals, they're called, but they're basically mock-ups of a brochure. And she needed something adjusted, and I did it and handed it back to her. And about 5 minutes later, there she is again, at my elbow. I goes, well, this isn't really straight. I said, okay. We'll do it your way. Put it on the
Insulting
drafting
my
table.
work.
I, squared everything up. I said, okay, now you're good to go. And handed it back to her. About 10 minutes later, I'm working away, and all of a sudden I look up, there she is again. You didn't quite nail it. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, what standard of excellence? Anyway, it turned out
This is
to be,
Fidelity Investments, sir.
Yeah, right.
We take this very seriously.
Didn't realize I had to up my game. So that was this gal who was doing production coordination, it was called.
Now, was his work really that lousy, or were you just trying to get close to him?
Well, we figured out in the aftermath that her
Yeah.
manager was kind of like sticking it to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm a perfectionist, but that's how we met at the Fidelity ad agency. It was supposed to be a 2-day temp assignment. I almost didn't answer the ad. I was in East Boston and I had to drive to Woburn, and I said to my buddy, "I'm not going to do this. For 2 days, it's not worth it."
Yeah.
He said, "Go for it." And I did. And, 27 years later, 2 kids later, a marriage later, here we are.
35 years later.
Well, 27 years at Fidelity.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
So how long before you two evolved from co-workers to something more?
We were part of a group of friends. When I came home from Europe, I just did temp work, trying to find my tribe. I saw an ad for Fidelity Human Resources temp, gave myself $1 an hour a raise, which was pretty cool at the time.
Sure.
And I worked for 2 recruiters, and they were staffing the phone sites in Utah and Dallas and all over. And then once they were done staffing, they looked at me and said, now where can we put you? And so my background was at Little Brown in the ad production department. So they said, oh, the ad agency. So I was production coordinator, but it was really account work with the Fidelity marketing staff who had to produce brochures for the funds that they were marketing.
And magazine ads and newspaper ads.
Everything. I was seeing somebody else at the time, and I invited him to all of our group things. He was not ideal for me, but and then people started telling me, Jon really likes you. He really likes you. And I just saw Jon as treating everybody the same. So I'm like, no. He's just... So that went on for about a year.
You are a nice guy, Jon.
And
Well, I was
then
treating
he
all
is
the
a
women
nice
the
guy.
same.
And so,
Cast a wide net.
and then that relationship ended, and then we went on a ski trip with some friends, and I don't know, it was Valentine's weekend, 1988. All of a sudden, something clicked, and there it was. So we started dating. Right.
How old were
right
you
then
guys
and
at the
there.
time?
I was 28.
So then I was 2 years older?
Oh, maybe 29.
Okay. So right
Thereabouts,
Very
early,
good. Not very good with
late,
those numbers.
late
20s,
20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Just about the time you think, well, all right, maybe
Right.
maybe I should settle down.
So that's
big
how
move.
it progressed. So back to your question.
Yeah.
We kept it a secret for a year.
Really?
Oh, at work.
As much as we could.
Or a month,
in
depending
the
on who you
fishbowl.
ask.
Okay.
And then I decided I need to get out of the agency. I need to work someplace else. So I got a job working for the insurance and annuity group in the marketing department. I was the number 2.
Would that have been
For 5
frowned
years.
upon, you guys dating?
Yeah, I
on
think
the
officially
team?
they would have had a problem with that.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I didn't want us to be ribbed by our friends.
Sure.
I just didn't want to subject our relationship to that kind of scrutiny. But I never thought about the professional aspect.
No, I think it was communicated to me anyway that fraternizing was, not only frowned on, it was not allowed.
Sure.
Well, you bucked the rules, and here you are.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think
Loved
we even
one.
kept it a secret all that long. Liz was like not one for, subterfuge when it came to, romance.
Just giving you a little peck on the cheek.
Yeah,
We're like, what's
right.
going on here?
And then ultimately we had name the Stone baby poster on the, became,
Right.
after a while it couldn't be, sort of denied.
Stone is such a
no.
great last name, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, Jon Stone. It sounds like it should be an action hero.
Well, it's a Beach Boys. They name checked me in a Beach Boys song.
Did they really?
Sheriff John Stone.
No kidding.
Sloop John B.
Right.
And our son,
Right.
Sam.
Sam
That's even a
Stone.
cooler name.
Yeah.
And Zoe Stone.
What do you guys remember about starting a family together? What stands out in terms of how you made it work and what you had to do to make it work?
When our son was 2 months old, my father passed away. And my mother was still in the house in Marblehead. We didn't want her to be alone. So we decided to move in with her. And she loved having the baby around, but she wasn't responsible. We didn't have her babysit or anything.
Oh, that's why you went to her. You didn't have her come in with you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, we were living in a small apartment, which would have been fine. But I worked for the first 2 years, and we were with my mom for 2 years. And then we had our second child. And then I thought, well, having these kids, I should probably take care of them myself, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And so I was an at-home mom, and we found our home in Danvers, and we had one car at the time. Luckily, there were kids and people in the neighborhood that we befriended. Jon went to work every day, and I was home with the kids doing all of that. And that was a hard adjustment for me.
Yeah.
I missed work.
people,
I missed
adults.
people.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I did.
Adult conversation.
And I was never really drawn to kids, and we never really set out to have kids. We just figured, all right, let's just throw caution to the wind.
Right.
You know, and
See what
that's
happens.
And that's what happened.
Yep.
So we're not very good planners.
That's all right.
I've noticed this about you.
You know, we're just not. We're too similar in that way.
But it was a time where, in our lives where you're either going to do it now or it doesn't really make sense to do it. So we did it.
It always stands out to me when we hear these stories. I think we've taken for granted how much less people were used to having. So you mentioned you had one car and you're living with mom, and that was actually very, very typical. All my clothes, like what I got growing up, were hand-me-downs. There was one TV that you would fight with your siblings over watching. Everybody didn't have their own device, right? It was just so alien and different compared to today. And, I give your generation a lot of credit because you had the values that your parents had given you about like thrift and how much you have to like save for the future. But you also were able to, like with the opportunities that you have, start like really working hard, build towards something, save towards something. And that must have been a wild thing to experience because you achieve things that your parents weren't able to, right? From a financial perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird because, before Sam came along, we were just kind of merrily going along. As soon as that first child came, you never saw a goofball turn into a serious person so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like a light switch was flicked and it's like, whoa, I really have to, I gotta grow up.
And you can't always know that about your spouse.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
But you see that kid,
But it was-
you see that newborn and you realize, wow, this is all on me, at least for, the next several years.
I had that same exact experience because Jess wanted to spend time with the kids. And I was like, so I have to figure out where the money's going to come from. And like now there's another mouth to feed. It's amazing how that just changes everything. Yeah.
So that concentrated me in a big, big way.
Did you make any big career changes because
No, but
of the kids?
my attitude about work changed in terms of, seriousness. I mean, it was always, I had a work ethic kind of drilled into me by my dad. It never really translated in a conscious way until, Sam came along. And then I realized I'm not in this, it's not just Liz and I providing for ourselves. We've got like a mega responsibility. It caused me to just be a little bit more serious at work and a little bit more, looking past next week to actually looking 10 years down the line.
Sure.
Where will I be in a position to be, a provider, better than I am, now. So, yeah, it focused me.
It also didn't hurt that we were producing all the material for college planning and retirement planning.
Oh, yeah.
And that was sort of drummed into us. But Jon is the saver.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was the spender.
Okay.
I buy all the gifts for everybody and some for myself and some for him. But yeah, that was really, I think that had a lot to do with it also.
Yeah.
That we just knew. And plus we were investing in our 401ks at Fidelity.
Right. Which is a trippy thing too, because that was not something that your parents had to do or did do or could do.
Or they had,
I always say I couldn't balance a checkbook before I moved up here and got with Fidelity. But as Liz says, all of that marketing stuff, it just kind of seeps in, even if you're not conscious of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
subconscious, seeing the stuff.
I can remember, putting together a brochure like in the morning, and it'd be like, $2 billion assets under management. And we're just about to ship the thing. It's like, no, we got to change it to $4 billion. And just watching this money, every time I had to change like a little tagline, be like, whoa, these guys are onto something. They're making money, by the billions.
Right.
And, all that focus on paying yourself first, maxing out the match. That stuff just, like I said, by osmosis, kind of wormed its way into my subconscious.
Would you say that you had a healthy relationship with money when you started the family and were raising the kids?
I think so.
Were there any struggles or issues that you had with it?
Well, we always had to be, I think, conscious of, spending beyond our means. My mother always said, don't charge any more than you can pay at the end of the billing cycle.
Right.
So that was front of mind. So yeah, I don't think we really stressed out too much about stuff.
We didn't have extravagant vacations. A
Yeah.
lot of people put their vacations on credit, and we just never did that. And we also put our son through St. John's Prep. at the time. And
So there were trade-offs.
There were
You know,
trade-offs,
really were.
absolutely. So all of our vacations, with the exception of one in Washington and one
State.
in Florida, Washington State and Florida, they were all in New England. And, you know, the kids are getting older, and I said, oh, we want to plan a family vacation. And they're like, as long as it's not in New England.
Anywhere
I've
else.
seen all these states.
Do you have any standout memories of raising the kids or some of the family adventures that you'd gone on?
Oh, gosh.
Our son was in California, and we brought our daughter to visit him out there, and that was a really great time. And last year the four of us went to Ireland because he was in school there for a master's in creative writing.
Okay.
So when he was done, we went over and toured around. It was fabulous.
What's your best piece of parental advice? Here at Arcadia, we actually have a couple ladies that are expecting, right? So we're going to have some Arcadia baby interns here soon. Maybe some marketing pieces you can help, draft for us, including those little ones. But, you guys have gone through it. What kind of advice do you have for today's parents?
Well, I have a lot of friends who are grandparents, and their kids do things very differently than we did. And so my friends are often put in their place.
Oh, wow.
No, we don't say that. We don't talk to our kids like that. Everything is more thought out, I think, with consequences in mind.
Okay.
The one thing I would say is teach your kids how to clean up after themselves right away,
Okay.
as soon as possible.
Instill that
Make
young.
it fun, because I didn't do that. I
Yeah.
did everything myself because it was faster.
Right.
Because there was always so much to get to.
Right.
And I regret that because there's organization skills that come out of that. There's timing,
Right.
Relationship to time and space.
She wanted the kids to change their own diapers, and I think that didn't work out.
That'd be impressive, actually.
I mean, you don't know if you don't try.
But I have a kind of a twofold advice for parents. First and foremost, don't get used to any phase. Don't get used to any particular type of behavior, because in about 6 months, it'll be, something completely different that you're not prepared for.
Terrifying.
Yeah, just flexibility. And I was always mindful not to overpraise our kids. I see all these, and I'm sure that there's a lot of merit to having a participation trophy and everybody's equal, but I would never lavish deserved praise on the kids, because I just didn't want them to think everything they did was wonderful.
Right.
Because it wasn't.
Yeah. And the other thing is when they're young, it's all about the physical energy that you have to, your output. Keeping track of all of their clothes, their equipment, their backpacks,
That's mental energy,
everything.
though, too, right?
Well, it is, but in terms of the relationship you have with your kids, you're setting them up for success, and there's a lot of physical aspects to that. And then as they get older, it becomes more of an emotional, and even older, more intellectual. So it's really interesting.
I have to imagine it's quite a change when the kids do move out and they start their own lives, and you start to think about the next chapter in your lives, right? Approaching retirement. How was that for you? Was it something that you put on the back burner? There was denial, or did you work towards it? What was that experience like?
Well, for me, I was always about saving, and I didn't have any problem doing that, on my own. I didn't feel like I needed to, I was just following the rules that Fidelity kind of laid out. But as, the years that you're talking about were upon us, I felt way less confident about how to start taking that money.
Sure.
And I felt that's where your finesse, your guys' expertise really was a confidence instiller.
Was it exciting to work towards retirement, or was it scary, or was it something you didn't give much thought to until it got
happened.
closer?
I never thought about it.
Yeah.
In fact, you're the one who told me I could retire if I wanted to.
It was me?
It was
Yeah, you
you.
gave us permission.
Well, it was during
And you
COVID.
listened to me.
It was during COVID.
Okay.
I was the activity director in assisted living for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And I did the last 9 months during COVID, the first 9 months of COVID. And so there was lockdown. I had to figure out how to do my job and keep everybody sane and mentally active and physically active. And
alive.
I loved my job. It was an opportunity to do it differently. But I didn't see myself leaving. But then, in the news, a lot of people are dying from COVID. We're very fortunate that we don't know anyone who did, and no one close to us. And even in the assisted living that I worked at, nobody was dying of COVID.
That's great.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
This is a wake-up call, though, wasn't it?
it was, exactly. And I thought, and he was home alone and had been for years, but enjoying his life. And I thought, you know what? You just never know. If I can do it now,
Right.
why am I not doing it now?
Right.
That's how it started.
Because COVID has been a little bit memory hold, and probably for some good reason, like just to avoid the PTSD. I think people don't like talking about it, but it was such a radical change to just our day-to-day lives for multiple years. And I remember there were days like we're looking at each other. We haven't showered for 3 or 4 days because no one was going to
Right, you
work.
weren't going
And
anywhere.
It was just like, what if this continues? Or like, what are we doing? Like it did allow, if nothing else, for you to think about where you were and what you kind of wanted to get out of life. You know, it was like, I think sometimes people have the same epiphany if they lose somebody close to them, whether it be a parent or more so someone their own age.
Right,
Like
exactly.
it just snaps into focus what's important. Right.
Those wake-up calls.
And you get used to a routine. I think that was kind of like was true for you and so many other people that I consult with is like, well, I wake up and I go to work, and then I wake up again and I go to work, and I wake up and is that what you want to do, or is that just like what you're used to doing?
Yeah.
And it's just interesting, entertaining those conversations.
Right.
I think maybe it being COVID made it easier
Totally.
to make some of those changes.
Well, it made it easy for me to sort of put some demands on Liz because I was worried, that's a very closed environment, and, it was basically a petri dish of germs or viruses. And I just thought, you know what, maybe this is a good time to think about not going back into that place for that reason. I mean, because I know you love the job and you love the people and it's very fulfilling and all the good reasons for working.
Yep.
But the prime one for me to get her out of there was just wanted to, avoid, getting a deadly disease.
Right.
I'll give you guys a lot of credits. For a lot of people, there's oftentimes a lot of stress, trepidation about making the change, and people will react in very interesting ways when they go through a change in life. Like they'll try to control everything and measure it all, 2, 3, and so they stay up at night, they're anxious. I remember you two being very calm and cool with these changes and just kind of going with the flow.
I volunteer there once a week now.
Yeah.
I have for, 5 years.
But it was you, Mike, who
Yes.
validated, you kind of you made that possible, for us to be not
To look at it
trepidatious.
differently. To look at it.
I just facilitate, because
Yeah.
people have you have the foundational thoughts and building blocks of getting there. I think for a lot of people, they just need the external validation that it's okay. It's not like I laid your foundation. I mean, you saved the money.
Right.
You made the
Right.
decisions. You took the risk.
Right.
And then it's just like, are we going to be okay? And just having somebody maybe push you over the ledge a little
Yeah,
bit,
that's all it took.
So thank you for that.
No, thank you guys. I mean, Jess and I like living vicariously through you. You understand, like, as business owners, we are working around the clock, right? So we need you guys to be
So
having...
you have some vision for yourselves.
exactly
Which
what
is
it looks
kind of
like.
cool.
Yeah, it's actually a small torture in some ways to be working this hard and watching people just retire and travel and do all this amazing
Be inspired.
And we're making use of our time volunteering and doing different things.
Yeah, I just took on a job with the food bank in the town next to ours.
Oh, nice.
So, and my dad had done it for years, and it's almost like a tribute to him.
Yeah.
But I'm, lugging, frozen chicken from, one part of the place to the other, and it's satisfying, and it's also very humbling, in a way. I mean, you see these people who are in such need. I can't imagine me ever standing in a food line, unless it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, but. The idea of going to a food pantry or, just is so alien.
Yeah.
So it's ennobling, to kind of see these people and lift them up a little bit.
It's mind-blowing, the volume of food that gets moved in those warehouses.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
not?
I can't
incredible.
believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only there for a couple of hours a week so far as I'm breaking in. But yeah, I mean, it's just, they'll get, 50 people an hour
Yeah.
lining up for, the basic necessities.
Well, the show's called Saturday State of Mind because we try to get people to a place where they recognize time is your most valuable asset. What you do with that time matters. And so what should we be doing with that time? Well, we've tried to frame that with, what's an ideal Saturday look like? So when you two think about the future and you think about, like, say, what you want to accomplish or to have like an idyllic day look like that you can hopefully repeat over and over, what are you hoping you get out of retirement such that if we're looking back one day, we can say that we nailed this adventure?
Well, I mean, to me, it comes down to one word: it's freedom.
Right.
If you can, within limits. I know we're not going to be, hitting a different European capital every couple of months.
You can try though, John.
But you can aspire to that. In other words, you can set the bar high and attempt it. But having the freedom to make a variety of different choices. I don't have to agonize over a foot pedal for my guitar.
So he is playing guitar now, not keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I play the bass.
And and music is a big part of our lives.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like a typical Saturday, I mean, we love to eat at restaurants. So any typical Saturday would find us, being waited on.
No, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, really.
Well, no, I mean,
In fact, I
else is
forget the
cooking.
days of the week, the names of the days.
That's great.
And we belong to a Lifetime gym, which is, so our physical health is really important. Having worked with seniors for a long time, people who didn't have the luxury of going to the gym or getting a manicure or a massage and couldn't stand up straight, it just really, I could see where things could possibly go. And so, I've always been physically active and sports and everything, but the gym is wonderful. So we spend a lot of time there.
yeah, well, I mean,
The mornings.
Yep.
when you're working, I don't think you have that time
You don't.
for self-care. It's
don't.
all you can do to drag yourself home,
Right.
eat, and, collapse on the couch.
Yeah.
Do it again
and
the
the
next
gym
day.
has been great for us because having sat at tables at your presentations, a lot of people are, afraid of what's going to fill the void.
Right.
I'm at work 8 hours a day. I spend 3 hours round trip commuting. That's 11 hours, 12 hours that you have to now all of a sudden
What do I do?
What do you
fill.
do?
Right.
Yeah. And the gym has been great because there's so much
Mm-hmm.
activity. We're going out tonight with a bunch of gym pals to a
Comedy
show.
For
awesome.
Santa, a Santa, fundraiser.
So I've told people at your, presentations, find a good gym
Yeah.
and spend a good portion of the morning there.
It's a great healthy habit that
Yeah.
fills the time, but
It's
fills
social,
your body and your
it's
soul
fun.
and your social.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're me, you do very little exercising, but you hang out and
Exercise your mouth a little bit.
yeah.
The one thing he started to do when he joined this gym before I did was just go to take a shower. and then went into the pool. And then when I joined, we started doing classes together.
Fun.
Yeah, and so now it's not even something we think about. Just we roll out of bed. When are we going to leave the house?
Right.
And when are we going to return?
So being as healthy as possible for as long as possible is like the biggest goal. My mom had Alzheimer's. I took care of her for 10 years. And then I moved right into the elder services. Yeah, I just, being healthy and upright, it gives you everything else.
And I would say too, Liz, what's interesting about you is I know that you spend about an equal amount of time, not only just on physical health, but mental health. And you have a lot of interesting takes on how to be grounded and in the moment. We were just talking about this recently. Do you remember? It's a concept called Let Them, right?
It's called the Let Them Theory.
Okay.
And basically, it's about not allowing other people to affect you in a negative way. So let them. I use it here in my marriage.
Sure.
Because there are things that, bother me.
Sure.
One of the things she says in her audiobook is that if it's not a deal breaker, then let them and just still embrace them with full love and no criticism and just,
Sure.
just take on a new tact.
Not
about
everything
how to
is a
approach
war
something.
that you have to fight,
Exactly. And
Well, I knew I wanted
and
to
that
bring it up
applies
with
in
you
everything.
because
Everything.
there's so many people we deal with that have either obligations to employers. They don't want to let coworkers down by retiring or let down a boss that they maybe have made certain indications to, or they get siblings that are needy or friends that are like a drag
Right,
on them,
right.
that are,
Yeah.
maybe even without the intention of doing it, bringing you down and doing these things. Right. And so when you brought this up, there was just, it just clicked. I was like, this is such a strong, important message.
Yeah, and so you can hear the same message in many different ways from different people. But all it takes is that one person or one method that you're hearing something to click. And that's just based on who you are, what makes you tick. I became so much more relaxed. And
Nobody's going to take my road rage away from me.
No.
Sorry, that's
Yours.
that's
You hold
mine.
on to
But I
that.
have-
It's
I-
deep
mine.
inside.
I'm always saying, let them. Just let them.
Yeah.
We're not in a hurry. The rage, I will open the windows
There's something.
in the car
Okay.
to let it out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
However, you have to manage them.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What works for you?
So we're going to start wrapping things up a little bit, but I'll start this off by, I want to give you guys credit for one last thing. I also see all sorts of like interesting behavior between couples in terms of how they make decisions or navigate tough choices. You two, despite what you were just indicating, Liz, always seem to figure it out and do it pretty well. You've been together now 30 plus years, something like that, right?
35.
Based on what you said.
35.
How have you guys made it work? And marry that by explaining what you appreciate most about the other person.
Well, I will take this.
Yes, please.
Because, when we were young parents, one car, I was managing everything in the house and the kids, I was depressed. So we went to a therapist, and she said, a couples therapist. And, as with your children and your spouse, you expect people to be an extension of who you are and sort of have the same standards and the same methods. And during this session, which was really incredible, I think we had 2 sessions where we talked about what we knew about our parents' relationships to their parents and our grandparents' relationship to each other and what everybody is bringing to this relationship. So when I was hearing about John's family, it just opened my eyes and made me realize he's not an extension of me, right? So it helped me to stand back and appreciate our differences more and not get as stressed out about them. So I've been adapting. He's not as much of an adapter as I am.
It's tough for us, John.
But,
We're macho.
there were tough years. We can't say it's been roses all the time, but we are now in a stage where we're having more fun. And we like the same things. We go to, we plan our summers around music festivals and trips. And I go off with my girlfriends and he goes off with his bandmates. And, we have our separate fun and our together fun. And our kids are local. So we see them, and we're just really in a sweet spot, and I don't take it for granted. I never do.
Yeah, I think that the same things that are important to me are important to you.
Yeah.
So, the little things that we don't agree on are so, minor
Right.
that they really don't impact us, maybe for more than a few hours. And then we get over it because, the bulk of what's important, we share.
Well, I have one funny thing. So one of my pet peeves is that he will just start disrobing and leaving everything all over the house.
Nice. I like it.
So
And businesses.
I thought, and
Just
I've
for,
been
by the way,
complaining
for
about
no reason in particular.
no
No.
reason.
Whose sock is this in the kitchen?
No, I
Very comfortable here, Jess.
Okay, good.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
So I thought, how can I set him up for success? So I thought, all right. Well, it was during Halloween, around that time, and I took there were pants, shirts. There was pants, a shirt, socks, shoes, and a cap, like all on the first floor, everywhere.
And a bra for some reason.
So.
I don't know.
Still haven't figured that one out.
Yeah.
Learning
I
so
thought,
much, John.
I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Instead of just putting all these in a big pile at the bottom of the stairs, I set up the clothes on the stairs. So I put the shoes at the bottom of the stairs. I laid the pants out, and then the shirt and the cap on at the top of the stairs. And I thought, you know what? If he walks around this,
That's right.
I'm gonna be
The joke was on her because
I
it
will
made-
be hopeless.
It made getting dressed the next day so much easier.
But so.
Instead of walk down the stairs and
Yeah.
put this on.
So
This is great.
So I heard him laugh, and I'm like, well, did you? And he said, no. And so then I went over, and he did. He actually did pick them up. But
That's very nice.
he likes to razz me a lot for a long time, as long as possible.
Well, I mean, she is.
It's really funny.
Never give up trying to change. your spouse, I guess, even after decades.
Well, I
and
know that I
decades.
can't, but so setting you up for success is not changing you.
Right.
It's just changing your environment a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
It's a different
Right?
perspective. You haven't seen it like that before.
I
Jess,
can
you
send you the picture.
Jess, you have one of your famous, like, let's wind it down questions just for funsies that you want to lay on these two?
Oh,
No
one
pressure.
of our like go-tos. Well, actually, this is, I think, a great question for individuals that love music festivals.
Oh.
What was, and you can answer either or both if you like, what was your first concert you ever went to? And what is the best concert you ever went to?
You probably remember your first.
Well, my first, I didn't really get in. It was Aerosmith. And we convinced this neighbor boy to drive us. And then we ditched him. And then we, and this was in like Foxborough.
Yeah.
And so I remember that. That wasn't the official first concert. But my memory's not so great about those things.
Yeah.
But one, as graduating high school seniors, we went to we got a bus and we went to a concert that had Marshall Tucker Band, the Eagles, and I think it was Fleetwood Mac.
Nice.
That's great.
Good show.
All heavy hitters in one show.
That's really neat.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
That's how I remember it, but
That's okay. I like the story. John?
I think if memory serves, and if it was a good concert, you don't remember.
Sure.
But I think we saw Yes.
Oh,
if you
okay.
remember them?
Yeah.
At Colt Park in Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And but
They're
again,
local, right?
so sketchy, in terms of remembering.
Great bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his name. You
Chris
probably
Squire.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, he just died about 3-4 years ago. But they were one of my favorite bands. And I guess in terms of, I saw Frank Zappa in Boston as a college kid, and that was a fabulous show, too. I mean, the musicianship.
oh, totally.
level
I'm with
was-
you on that one. My
Yeah.
brother took me to one in Providence, and this was in, the early 80s, and I was blown away
Excuse me.
by the musicianship.
Yeah.
It made me, that's the first concert that made me really appreciate
Music,
the
yeah.
musician.
It was like a finishing
the
school
ability,
for,
the capability, the talent.
Yeah.
If you could
Amazing.
cut it in his band, you were accomplished.
If you could take a time machine to see any band in their prime, who would you go see?
Wow, it's a great question.
I know.
Oh, I'd go see the Beatles.
Yeah?
I never saw them.
Yeah.
Never.
That'd be a thrill. Although
You're both Beatles
I
people?
was too young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had, as a teenager, we had tickets to see the Who at Yale Bowl.
Okay.
And was really excited for that. But the previous weekend, the Dead were there, and all the kids rioted. They tore down the fences, and stormed the field,
Wow.
and they canceled the rest of the concert series. And I wept. I wasn't very mature, but I mean that was really. So I mean, if I could see the Who in their heyday, that would have atoned for
Cool.
And one of my buddies was one of the guys who rioted. So I never let him forget it.
That's right.
You're the reason why I couldn't
Isn't
see
everybody
the Who.
supposed to be pretty chill at the Dead concerts? No.
Well, if they're doing it right, but it was at
Yes.
a time when people were rioting about everything.
Sure.
It was like the 70s. It's
Right.
like, oh, we can't see this show for free. Tear down the fences.
Yeah,
There was
sure.
a real kind of anarchy in the air back then.
Right.
Not so, it's much more polite now.
It's calmed down. It's gotten more corporate. Have you noticed
Yeah.
when you go to shows?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like,
also
well,
Totally.
Fidelity sponsored the Paul McCartney. When Paul McCartney turned 64, some brilliant marketing guy came up with the idea, hey, when I'm 64, let's leverage this.
Yeah.
So they signed him up for a year.
Yeah.
He became sort of like the spokesmodel. And I got a chance to see, we both got a
did.
chance to see him at the Garden.
We got a phone call out of the blue.
Well, the marketing VP knew I was a fanatic.
Yeah.
So I had brought her a program from a previous concert. I said, if you ever, if you're with Paul,
Yeah.
maybe he would sign this. We were on the highway and we got a call from her. Hey, how would you like to, sit in the president's box
Yeah.
with Ned Johnson and perhaps Paul McCartney?
Right.
And it's like you never saw a car wheel around
We dropped everything.
so quickly and head back toward Boston.
Yeah, we were picking the kids up from Hebrew school or something.
Something.
Yeah.
And
They'll walk.
Right, exactly. You're like, I didn't even get them.
Yeah.
here, feed yourselves. We gotta
School's
go.
not that far away from home.
Well, you guys totally crushed it today. This has been
thanks.
so awesome.
Yeah.
John and Liz Stone, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
You behaved well enough. Maybe we'll invite you back.
We always like to come up and see you guys.
There's
We
always
get
more to
something out of
tell.
it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yep, same here.
That's a wrap.
Thank you.
All right.
If you like this video and it helped you, watch another one. And don't forget to hit subscribe.